This is a special report from ABC News Digital.
I'm Ty Hernandez with an ABC News Digital special report. 19 elite firefighters died while on the front lines of a ferocious wildfire in Arizona, the single deadliest incident for firefighters since September 11th. The firefighters encountered conditions that became so bad, so fast, they took an extreme measure in a Hail Mary bid to stay alive. ABC's David Wright is live in Prescott with what's happening now. Good morning, David, and what can you tell us?
Good morning, Ty. Well, this is devastating news here in Prescott, where at least 18 of the 19 who died yesterday are from one unit, this elite Granite Mountain Hotspots crew. Not clear where the 19th person was from. It may have been an additional firefighter attached to that unit. But as you say, this is the most devastating day for firefighters in this country since 9/11, the most shocking news in Arizona since the attack on Congresswoman Gabby Giffords 2 years ago. We're seeing tweets and tributes from all of the big politicians here in Arizona, as well as nationally, people recognizing these fallen heroes and the tragedy that struck this community and still rages on in the form of that wildfire.
David, we've been hearing a lot about those personal individual shelters that some of the firefighters had been found in. That is a last resort for the firefighters and are used in extreme conditions. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, every firefighter carries them. They come in a box about this big, and the firefighters call them their shake and bake tents because you shake it out and you get into it and you lie on the ground and you bake until the fire goes over top of you. It's not an ideal circumstance. It's only used in a last resort. It's about the size of a sleeping bag. And inside that tent, if the fire's moving right over top of you, it's said that the temperature can get up to about 200 degrees, which is terribly uncomfortable. Outside, 500 degrees or more. Now, for all of these firefighters to deploy those tents, this is the first time they'd ever deployed them for this unit, which has been around more than a decade. So that tells you something about the severity of the conditions that they were facing. The first time they'd ever deployed it in the field, I should say, they trained for this thing every day, and even we reporters who cover wildfires carry these tents with us when we're going into a fire zone and are taught how to deploy them. But you really don't want to be in a situation where you have to deploy one. Mostly firefighters and people covering wildfires look for a way out. Clearly there wasn't such a way out on this instance, and we see the tragic results today.
David, have authorities talked about how they might do things differently in approaching this fire from here on, given the massive deaths?
I think that the tragedy is recognized, and we will see, a lot of focus on the fallen firefighters, to be sure, but the work of fighting that fire continues. It's now 8,000 acres, the latest number that I saw, 250 homes destroyed. Those numbers will probably be revised this morning, but it is still burning out of control, and there are still firefighters that are having to race into those flames knowing what happened. That the work doesn't stop just because too many firefighters have died. In fact, the work continues, but it's got to be all the more difficult emotionally on these firefighters, knowing that they lost so many of their comrades. This is a job that tends to bring people together. It's more than just a day job. These are a brotherhood of folks fighting a fire, and the brotherhood is in mourning.
Let's talk a little bit about the weather conditions that have made this so terrible. Are we expecting more of those today?
Well, the forecast for today is for 114 degrees here, with winds of 5 to 10 miles per hour. And there have been lightning strikes overnight, so people are beginning to wonder if that might have led to additional hotspots popping up. This has been a heat wave here in Arizona. It's always hot in the summer, but especially hot right now. And the high winds make these fires all the more difficult because it tends to whip the fire through dry brush and it burns pretty fast.
What's the sense on the ground there in Prescott? What are people saying? What are their concerns about these fires as we continue on into the season?
People are concerned about their homes by and large. These fires can ravage an entire community, can burn out an entire town. People are also concerned about livestock and livelihood. They get warnings to evacuate. Sometimes people don't want to evacuate because they want to wet down their house as the fire approaches. This is dangerous stuff, and it's stuff that people across the west of this country deal with every year. Just as there's tornado season in the Midwest and hurricane season in the Southeast, wildfire season out west is a kind of natural disaster season that happens like clockwork, and people here dread it, but they are kind of resigned to it as well.
All right. Well, David Wright, thank you so much for keeping us informed this morning.
All right, Ty, thanks.
All right. This was an ABC News Digital special report. We now return to our regular programming.
This has been a special report from ABC News Digital.